Good afternoon, Mr. Chandrakant Salanke, Mr. Viren Joshi, Mr. Emmanuel Gandhi, Albert Omello, honored guest, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow businessmen. It's a pleasure and privilege to be an integral part of this global SME summit. What a world, extraordinary world we are going through. Of late, we have the semblance of positivity. We have seen the reflection of clinical solutions, even though we have an impact of over 60 million people, and we lost nearly 1.5 million people. The impact is dominant in substance. In terms of economic catastrophe, in terms of social, in terms of human loss, again, environment. These issues are multidimensional, and world at large have realized more than ever we have to come together, stay interconnected, and collaborate. That's what Mr. Viren was also advocating. In substance, that's precisely what we have done. If you look at the last 9 to 10 months, the global community has recognized that fiscal and monetary alignment has to come globally. When we had this financial crisis in 2008, it was confined to only financial sector. Now, what we have seen is extraordinary. This is a paralysis in the whole world. Humanity is endangering its solvency. We are alive today. That itself is a great thing. We lost, well, as I said, more than 1.5 million people of our brethren. So the challenge remains, the world at large has recognized we should stay interconnected, whether you believe in globalization or economic nationalization. You have to bring in a sustainable value creation, and that's precisely the reason 30 trillion has been pumped in global terms. 30 trillion has been pumped so far. And predominantly, the value chain was created to have a remedial management and disaster recovery for SME. Emmanuel was showcasing the importance of liquidity. The liquidity crisis has not moved into a solvency and sovereign issue today, purely because multi-trillion has been pumped. Every single government in this part of the world, 196 countries got together. And again, the recent G20 was a great assertion of the fact that fiscal and monetary alignment has worked. They want to make sure we move from remedial management to sustainable growth. Disaster is apart. We have come out of the disaster. The damage is done. Now, the second wave or third wave will have consequential impact, but we know we have mapped it to a large extent. Once the clinical solution is administered, we will be in a position to make sure we can reduce the mortality. That much we are clear. That's why, if you look at the IMF prediction, next year it is going to move to 5.2% aggregate terms economic growth. And similar reflection we are seeing on the trade side, whether trade or investment, banking is an intermediary to the frame. Unless the global economics improves, we cannot sustain the world. How do you eradicate extreme poverty if you don't have growth momentum? How do you make sure environment sustainability comes in if there is a global warming and climate change is not fixed or food security is not fixed? There's no way you can fix it. So poverty alleviation is a major factor. Again, this crisis is a major revelation for us to understand this is an opportunity to govern ourselves with absolute trust and transparency. That's why digital governance is going to be, more than ever, it is going to be emphasized. The acceleration, the speed at which digital governance is impacting is extraordinary. I could see it in the banking side. The transaction-based processing hitherto was at least in the majority of the portion in many parts of the world, was manual. Now it's all shifting to digital advantage. The customers see the value in it. He was forced to do it. It came as a blessing in disguise. Mind you, this is a bigger opportunity for us to kill the parallel economy, bring in more measurements to see governance comes in, trust and transparency comes in, anti-money laundering takes a measured approach. We will combat financial terrorism. It's a need of the hour. The evil act should be controlled. And we have a mechanism now. If everything is connected digitally, trust and transparency comes in, online real time you are able to measure and manage, then you are in a better position to create a social justice, a freedom, functional democracy, human empowerment, human dignity. And that's what precisely this crisis has brought in. Let's not look at the negative side of it. A lot of positive values are coming out of this crisis. This crisis is going to create human values more than ever, much more dignified. We are seeing it. We are seeing it. We stay connected with more and more passion and love. We started recognizing it is not haves and have-nots. We have to reduce the income inequality. That's why, even in terms of business, when Emmanuel presented 96% of the business, that's huge. And 60% of the working force. Imagine the gap even today in terms of rich and poor. We need to eliminate this. We need to bring in a sense of parity to humanity. And this crisis is an enabler. That's how we have to interpret. So that when a Millennium Development Goal was redesigned as Sustainable Development Goal, we didn't accomplish as much as we wanted. That's why, if you look at the enduring values which are in the offering, we have taken steps now. In the last 1 month, if you look at the global governance, you look at 22nd and 23rd, we have G20. Look at their agenda. It's all humanitarian drive. Trade was there, technology was there. I'm not disputing it. The digital governance was emphasized. But more of humanity. They want to give the vaccine to poor countries. That's the first spell. Look at the change in attitude. Look at the BRIC meeting which happened 15 days before. Look at the APEC. Look at 14 countries come together, including Northeast Asia. Japan and China is coming together. If you don't stay interconnected, interdependent, you are not going to create a better world, better citizenship to this world. The peace is within us. We fragmented it. We created conflicts between the developing world and developed world. Contentious issues, even today in WTO, we are seeing it. So we need to bridge this gap, and this crisis is an opportunity to fix it. SME is inclusive. Financial inclusion is a model which we have learned. You have to necessarily make sure wealth distribution comes in tandem. And that's where the prosperity I'm looking at with cautious optimism. When it comes to global warming and climate change, again, it's a positive trend. Carbon emission, we are talking about carbon neutrality, carbon-free world. Environment is factored now into the trade. Madam will agree. More than ever, the global leaders are recognizing that we have to factor a green mission, green banking. Investments or lending, a portion of the risk-weighted capital has to be allocated. Otherwise, you don't create a sustainability. If 27% of the global carbon emissions come from the world richest country, biggest country in terms of economics, America, rather China, is second richest. And again, emerging markets like India is having 7% of the carbon emission. Now the energy mix is changing now. These are initiatives coming up. Of course, there were steps taken right from COP15 to as on date, Paris climate. But more than ever, now we see the interconnectivity. How do we change energy mix from the fossil fuels? How do we create lesser carbon emission? At the same time, we have to reinvigorate industrial infrastructure, reinvigorate energy into the systems to make sure you create through diverse sources. And that's the positive reflection. Now, in the midst, you have to develop business. The business has to be developed in five-fold strategy. What are they? Irrespective of the industry where you come from, you have to understand, you have to do the remedial management to stay. As more than ever, you have to understand, you have to fix the damage which has happened. Take stock of it first. How much supply chain you lost? How much bankruptcy must have happened? How much innovation has to take place? Remodeling of your business. It's no more same old fashion. Now we are conversing in virtual world, right from America to India to Doha to Switzerland to Italy. This itself shows clear connectivity. This is the way we are going to have a knowledge management. This is the way we are going to bring in knowledge economy. So you have remodeling of your business, every business. If you don't innovate, you are dead. You're finished, over. Because the way we do the business has to change. The policies, the procedures, the process. SME has to take that step, initiative. You have to come to terms. World over, everyone is now promoting. In the last 8-9 months, I've been seeing not only incubation is happening, digital acceleration is happening for SMEs. I've seen in the Gulf, whether Dubai or Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, or even Qatar, where I have business, how many fintech companies have cropped up here. I was just telling Viren, this is the time to come to the Gulf. Why you have to come to the Gulf? Because so much money is flowing where you have investable surplus, and they all are understood. SME is the backbone. 21st century belongs to SME. Let's understand this. There are numbers given by WTO now, but we also know, places like Qatar, I just looked at the total number of business registered in Qatar of late, 25,000 institutions. 96% is SMEs. 96. Now, what the Qatar government has done, I will give you an example. Every government has done, I will give you a classic example where they put the money. First is to make sure SMEs are not closing and running away. Even though it's only 15% of the GDP as on date. You have oil, gas, and petrochemicals. You have investable surplus across the globe. Our GDP is nearing 200 billion. This year there is a contraction of 4.5%, but still it's formidable. Twice of the GDP we have reserves in terms of sovereign funds and invested in multiple market, multiple sectors. Nevertheless, SME was focused through National Response Guarantee Program. First, we will pay the salaries for all. Government has paid the salaries for all. We don't want them to run away and close their business and go. We will pay the rent for all. Affected sectors, other than the government, private sector side. The banks have been pumped money. Give them 3-year period, 1-year grace period. Reduce the interest. Give them at cost. It's a peanut price. Government has subsidized. So it's not I'm losing. I'm passing on the benefits, what has come to me as a freebie. Government has allocated 15 billion interest-free to fund for all these institutions. So the minute you have protection of small and medium-sized entrepreneurship, your job security is there. Employment protection is there. And they made sure the wage is paid instantaneously for all the blue collars. It depends on the demographic dynamics in each country. So essentially, you have to protect the overall opportunity to retain, sustain, let them live alone. Let us revive the business thereafter. So it's important you remodel the business and protect the SME and then start innovating and giving solutions to you. Not only financial access. Now, debt is coming from the financial institutions. We have signed, all the commercial banks like me with the government, sign the equity. If you have a know-how, there is a transfer of a technology, the know-how is there, then the government is ready to give you the capital. Debt will come from all the commercial banks, for which It's a joint risk participation. I am guaranteed 85% of my risk. It means even if the customer goes bad, I will be guaranteed 85%. Why should I not take that measured risk? So government is recognizing. It's not only here in the region itself. I can give enough examples because SME is the backbone. It is how do you create for younger population jobs? You have to keep occupying them, otherwise there will be social unrest. Peace and prosperity comes out of occupancy. So you need full employment. Countries which are richer has to reduce the income inequality. And again, the more you create innovation and knowledge economy, you have to make sure individual becomes institution. That's where the entrepreneurship comes in. Social entrepreneurship comes in. That's for more of financial stability, more of country's prosperity with a long-term vision. That's precisely has happened. Now, bank side, we can give you loan or overdraft or bill discounting or bill purchase or fund, non-funded business, LCs or guarantees or acceptances, we can give. But you also need to be supported in terms of your consultancy, mentoring. That is also set up now. There's a separate SME mentoring program. Business incubation programs have been set up by the government authorities. Now we have seen many institutions are taking advantage. There's an SME toolkit. A regular training and development is given. We have to do it. Every country has to do it. Every country who aspire for gross welfare to the mass has to look at business stemming towards social entrepreneurship. And that is precisely the opportunity we have to look at it. If you start dimensioning your objectives clearly, the challenges can be mapped. The challenges are very many. Everyone has faced the problem across the globe. If 96% of the business is impacted, it's not some technology companies or Amazon or Google or Microsoft making more money. That's not what we are talking about. We need small and medium-sized entrepreneurs to survive, whether it's developed world or developing world. That's why America is now creating under a new administration SME fund. Immediately, we want to accelerate the survival. Those business which needs injection of funds. Every country has to remodel in terms of support to the SMEs. Now, when it comes to SME, you have to understand, you have to restructure your debts. You have to take stock of what are your commitment to the market. How do you restructure it? You have to work with the government. You have to work with the banks, apex institutions to make sure how do you have a debt servicing east. Come to us. We will tell you how to do it. Now, if you are sitting anywhere in the world, explore the free zones. Countries like Qatar, for example, have 3 free zones. Now, the free zones, they have pumped additional 3 billion. It means you can come here, set up here, and you can have a commercial gateway for the world. It is available in the rest of the Gulf states as well, Dubai. But underlying economic fundamentals are equally important. It's not that you will come here without indigenous opportunities. You need to have a setup where there is economic momentum. So go to a country where there is a growth and set up the infrastructure, leverage on the free zones, leverage on the business incubators, take the equity available to you, take the debt available to you at a concessional interest, take the tax advantage you have, and make sure you remodel your business and then create a global gateway. Because your business model has to be totally global, irrespective of where you come from, whether you are in India, whether in the United States. Now, the circular economy is becoming flat. We can create Silicon Valley in India. You don't need to go to San Jose or Palo Alto. You are not location-centric, you are information-centric. So wherever you are, SME business community, explore the possibilities around the world because your model is no more local. It is global. Your mindset has to be global. Your digital governance has to come in. You map all your deficiencies. Let us map it one by one. How do we fix it? Access to technology you need. There are infrastructure provision given for concessional advantage. There are countries who want to be competitive enough to make sure their local business is fueled by value advantage of SME, because everyone recognizes now it is not big corporation alone can stimulate economic momentum in a sustainable fashion. So you need to articulate SME solutions more and more. So you should be proud of having an SME. You should be exploring the market to mitigate the challenges. And there are enough reasons to believe, if you explore in the web itself, each country has contributed in terms of support systems for SME. Explore it, come to the market where your business model will have value advantage. Create a gateway location, whichever is your industry type, doesn't matter. Economic momentum has to be revisited in tandem because everything is getting rationalized. You don't need to run with the same amount of people. With the value advantage which you envision, your cost of production will change. If you are getting cost-effective labor from India, for example, if your cost of capital is cheaper, if your cost of financing is cheaper, you have proximity, you have first-class seaport, you have first-class airport, why should you struggle in a place where you don't have? Keep your office, keep your liaison, change your location. Change your location where you have a value advantage. Why not? We live in interconnected. Reach out any part of the world, and you are going to have a right kind of input. That's what precisely I want to give a message today. Revival and survival is not our only objective. We need to accelerate our performance. We need to create a better world from this crisis. After 1930 depression, the world at large has increased its productivity for a number of years. And that is what precisely the opportunity, the acceleration we are going to see with the demographic dividend. Some countries like India has got huge opportunity for us to really find. Today, every individual is becoming institutions, and knowledge is the real power. It is not the financial capital alone. It's a human capital which is going to drive. There could be no more unemployment if you understand the world at large is still in need of multiple solutions to bring in peace and prosperity. And that's what our commitment should be. We are global citizens. We understand the dynamics of interconnected world, and we will bring in values which are ever streaming for us to create a sustainable value chain for your business and the prosperity of human endeavors. And that is precisely you can do as SME entrepreneurs. We are here to support your mission wherever you are, whichever be the part of the world you are engaged in. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention.